What's going on, y'all? I want to give you an overview of the new analog delay in Studio 1.5 as it's been completely revamped to sound like a analog tape delay. And before we get into this, I want to say that if you've used analog delay in previous versions of Studio One, you might want to check on those sessions because this has been changed. It will sound different. I've got a session that I pulled up that I use analog delay on, and now the track that I had it on sounds different. So you may want to save a copy of those sessions because, as you know, once you save a session in Studio 1.5, there is no going back to previous versions. So keep that in mind. But let's get into this analog delay. So most of the features we have here are the same ones that we've had in the previous version, and we've got a couple new things here. So I'm going to get to the stuff that we've had all along pretty quickly so we can move right on into the new stuff that we have here on this delay. On the delay section, we've got our standard sync time or your milliseconds feedback. Under the color, you got your low and high cut filters. So this is new. We have a drive knob that now emulates tape saturation. Before, this just said saturation, and much like the tri-comp, I didn't really hear saturation when turning that knob. LFO, you got your speed, the amount of modulation, your square wave, sawtooth, sine wave for the modulation there. So motor, we had this in the previous version. It just wasn't called motor, but this affects the tape speed of the delay. And then on the far right, we have our standard global dry wet, lock it to 100%. So let's get to the width, because this is where things are new. So before, we had a knob that would go from mono to stereo to ping-pong, and now this just goes from all the way counterclockwise at 0 is mono, all the way to the right is full stereo. Swap channels, we've had that before. So the ping-pong mode, this is really what's new here. So there's 3 modes for the ping-pong, or I guess you can really say 2, because one is just off, which just turns off the ping-pong mode. So sum is going to take the left and right channels coming into the delay and sum that to a mono signal, and 2 channels is going to take the left and right signal coming into the delay and send that into the delay. So you can either send the mono sum or stereo into the delay. So I've got a track that I made here with some of these new sounds that I've got from Presonus for Presence and Mai Tai. So I'll play that, and then we'll go through the tracks that I've got the analog delay on. Okay, so the bass and the lead is what I have the analog delay on. We'll start with the lead and look at the width. So set this to off, and I'm going to, well, we're going to go to sum, and I'm going to play it, and I'll go from 0 up to 100%. Actually, no, I'll keep it off so we can go mono to full stereo and let you hear that first. So with it off, at 0 you got mono, 100% you have full stereo. Now let's do the sum, and this is where we'll start to get the ping-pong effect. So I'll start with it at mono, and then we'll go up to all the way up to 100 so you can hear the full width of the ping-pong effect. Okay, and the swap channels, so if I hit play right now, so the delay starts on the left channel. If I swap it, it then starts on the right. So the swap channels just determines where do you want the delay to start with on the ping-pong mode. And then we'll do the same thing under the 2 channel. For this one, we'll start at 100 and then go down to 0. So I don't hear a difference going from mono 2 channel to off, but the main thing you want to know here, if you want to do the ping pong effect, you want to go sum and then turn up your stereo width here to as much as you desire. All right, let's take a look at the bass now. I've got some different settings on there with analog delay, and I'm using the LFO as well as the motor. So I'm going to play, let's play with the LFO first. I'll play it and let it loop through, and then I'll start to mess with the LFO so you can hear the changes that can make. Okay, and now let's mess with the motor. So this is going to affect the tape speed. You can get that LFO and motor to, you can work with those together to get some interesting sounds here for your delays. I will say with the LFO, kind of a rule of thumb, if I have the delay set to 1/8 or a quarter note, I'll do some kind of variation of that with the LFO. Like, for example, if I'm doing 1/8 here, I'll do 1/16 here or 1/4 here. Just make sure that it's a number that, can't think of the word I'm looking for, but if you add it, if double it, make sure that they kind of match. All right, so there's a look at the analog delay, the new analog delay in Studio 1.5. Any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I want to invite everyone to check out my new podcast, the Faders Up Podcast. It's a podcast about pro audio. I've got me and 3 other Nashville professionals. We're discussing pro audio topics, pro audio lifestyle. And it's available on Apple Podcasts and it's available on Spotify. So check it out, rate it, let me know what you think.